Welcome student. Today our topic is transmission and distribution. For that we know that we use electricity for our lighting our home, for the street light, for the floodlight, for the sports arena, for home, for the overall electrification we are discussing in this lecture. And we know that the electricity what we are using as for the domestic purposes for our in our homes, for the each and every appliances, whatever it will be a motor, for the furnace, for electricity what we are running in the locomotives, for the each and everywhere we are using electricity in various applications. So here the structure of our power system, the electricity what we are generating at our generating station, or the generating station may be our thermal power plant or a nuclear power plant or a hydro power plant. The generation is at 11 kV, and after that 11 kV our voltage will be stepping up to a 400 kV, and then that voltage will be a transmit. After that that transmitting voltage, then it will be a stepping down to a 220 kV. After that it will again in a transmission level, and so again it is again transmitted and stepping down to the 132 kV, and again it is transmit level, and again it is stepping down to a 33 kV, and again it will be stepping down to 11 kV, and near about this 11 kV is coming to the transformer which is installed near our homes, and this 11 kV is stepping down to 0.44 kV, or we can say the 415 volt. So, and again finally it will be distributed. So from that we are taking to our home, and we are getting in a single phase 230 volt supply in a single phase supply, and a 415 volt in a three phase supply. So the reason behind that to transmit up to a higher voltage level to reduce the losses, which is I square R losses. So you can understand by this structure also. Here we have a generating station. From this generating station or a power plant, we are generating electricity, and after that this transformer we are stepping up to the higher voltage and transmit it, and after that transmission we are stepping down to the voltage and distribute as per the requirement of the load, or the category of the load, or we can say that the type of the consumer, whether we have a residential consumer or a commercial consumer or a industrial consumer. Definitely industrial consumer are a bulk user, they are using maximum amount of energy, and or we can say that they are using high voltages as per their requirement. So here the another figure of the structure of power system. The generating station we are generating at 11 kV, and after that we are stepping up, and then stepping down again, and then again we are stepping down, and after that finally we are in a distribution stage. So we are distributing as per the requirement of whether they are a bulk user or a heavy load user, and after that again we are stepping down for the secondary distribution, which we are distribution for the domestic consumer that we are using at homes. So we are generating 11 kV, and we are using only 230 volt in single phase and 415 in three phase. So now the electrical energy produced at the generating station is conveyed to the consumer through a network of transmission and distribution system. So the overall the structure after the generating station is called the transmission and distribution. The structure which include the transmission part and the distribution part is called the transmission and distribution. Now we have three parts of the transmission and distribution, that is feeder, distributor and service mains. The feeder is a conductor which connect the substation to the area where power is distributed, and a distributor is a conductor from which tapping are taken from the supply to the consumer. and the serviceman is a small cable which connect the distributor to the consumer terminals. Now, when we classified our distribution system, we are classified into various categories. We can classify into just like a nature of current, the which type of current we are using. We have two type of current which we have available, that is a alternating current, or we can, in short, we can call it AC, and a direct current, that is in short we are call it DC. So we have a AC distribution system and a DC distribution system. Generally in a present scenario we are using AC more because of their simpler use over the DC. Now again, the type of construction, we have two type of construction. One is overhead, which we are seeing around here, and second is underground construction. And next is scheme of connection, which type of scheme we are using, whether they are radial, whether they are ring main, or whether they are interconnected. As per the schemes, it is also classified. So when we talk about the AC and DC transmission system, we have they have certain differences, or we see the certain differences. That is, when we go as per the definition, definitely AC have a alternating current and DC have a direct current. When we look to the as per the name number of conductors, then AC have a generally 3 conductors. When we see in our house, AC we have a phase, neutral and earth, and when we look to the DC we have positive and negative only. When we look to the inductance and surges, then AC have the inductance and the surges, but DC don't have. And the voltage drop is high in the AC and lower in the DC transmission system. When we look to the skin effect, the skin effect is that our maximum amount of current is flow on the surface of the conductor. So it is occur in the AC system, but it is absent in the, totally absent in the DC. When we talk about the insulation, in AC system we have the insulation more, we required more insulation, but in compared to same voltage in the DC, we required less. AC definitely have interference with the communication line, but DC doesn't have. The corona is occur in the AC, but in DC it doesn't have. When we talk about the dielectric loss, AC have the dielectric loss, but DC doesn't have. When we talk about the synchronization and stability problems, the AC doesn't have the difficulties, or we can say they have no difficulties, but DC have the difficulty due to their frequency there is no frequency, the frequency is 0, and the voltage is different. And overall, when we talk about the cost, the AC system is costly respect to the DC, and the length of the conductor is small in AC system and DC is in more. And finally when we talk about the transformers, the AC require the transformer, but DC doesn't require the transformers. Now when we look to the system, we have two type of system, that is overhead system and the underground system. So definitely they have some comparison. So when we look to the comparison, we have public safety. So overhead structure is just over our head, and underground we are not be able to see because it is totally underground. So when we talk about the public safety, the underground system is more safer than the overhead system. In the flexibility category, we can say that the overhead structure provide it is more flexible than the underground, because we can connect anywhere, anytime, any conductor, anytime, anywhere. But it doesn't happen in underground. The initial cost is in overhead system is lesser than the underground system, because in the underground system we have to dig or we have to create a cable trench, and we have to lie the cable. So we we can say that the overall cost of the labor is increases in the underground system. When we talk about the faults faults are less occur in underground system, but in overhead system the faults are more occur than underground system because they are exposed in the environment. So when we talk about the appearance, definitely underground system look more good appearance. The fault location and the repair are easily possible in overhead system, but in underground system we have to dig out and find out the fault. It will take too much time. The maintenance cost is underground system is high, and it include the useful life of the underground system is high, and the interference with the communication lines is happen in overhead system, but in underground system it doesn't have. Now when we look just head to head, the fault location uh, for the in the underground in the underground, as the underground cable is invisible, it is very difficult to find the location of the fault, and in the overhead system it is easy to find the location of the fault. So when we find the fault easily, then we can repair it easily. The initial cost in the overhead system, there is no requirement of digging manholes, cable trench and the overhead line, so it makes cheaper than the underground system, but this cost will be additionally imposed in the underground system. Now the chances of fault, as the overhead line is exposed to the environment, the chances of faults are more. I already said that the safety, this system, the overhead system is less safer than the conductor are placed on the tower. The useful life is approximately of the overhead system is 20-25 years, where for the underground system is 40 to 50 years approx. The maintenance cost of the overhead system is lower, or we can say that lesser than the underground system, and the overhead system is more flexible than the underground system. In a transmission and distribution, we have a various system of transmission of electrical power. Just like we have a DC system. In a DC system, we have a DC two-wire system, a DC two-wire system with midpoint earth, DC three-wire system, single phase AC system. In single phase AC system, we are categorized into what three categories, like a single phase two-wire system, single phase two-wire system with midpoint earth, and single phase three-wire system. Now again we have a two-phase AC system. In that category we have a two-phase four-wire system and a two-phase three-wire system, and finally we have a three-phase AC system. In this we have a three-phase three-wire system and three-phase four-wire system. So now we are compare the cost of the conductor in overhead and the underground system. So first we are taking overhead system. For this comparison, we took some assumption. Say in all cases, power to be transmitted is P watts. We make assumption, and the distance over which the power is to be transmitted is same. So distance is L. The line losses are same. These are W watts. The maximum voltage to earth is same. It is Vm volts. So we made this assumption for the comparison. So first we took a DC system, and in DC system we have a DC two-wire system with one conductor earth. So when we look to the diagram, we have a DC system, and in DC system between the conductors, in two conductor, the maximum voltage is Vm, and the one conductor is earth, and the current which is flow in this, it is I1. So the maximum voltage between current is equal to Vm volts. Power to be transmitted, we already assumed that is P watts, and when we calculate load current, So load current I1 is equal to P divided by Vm. It is P by Vm. And the line losses, when we talk about the line losses, we have two conductor. Then in one conductor it is I square R. We have a two conductor, that is 2I1 square R1. Then 2I, we have a two conductors, then 2I square R, and the current is I1, and the resistance is, we'll assume that it is R1. So we have a 2I1 square R1. Then we put the value of I1 from load current, and resistance, we know the value of resistance is rho L upon A. So the area of this conductor is A1. So the area of the cross section of the conductor, from this equation we calculate that is 2 rho P square L divided by W Vm square. And so it is the area of the conductor. So the volume of the conductor required is 2 A1L, and we put the value of A1 here. So we get this 4 rho P square L square divided by W Vm square. So this is the base we can find out. Thus the volume of conductor material required in this system is taken for the base, and we say that we can say that we let about K, we assume that it is equal to the K. So now for the rest of the system we are comparing each and every system with this value. So next, for the DC system, then DC two wire system with midpoint earth. So we took that, we draw the diagram. We have a DC two wire system with midpoint earth. So from this midpoint to a conductor, the voltage is Vm. For this midpoint to the conductor, the voltage is Vm. So total voltage is 2 Vm. So the maximum voltage between conductor is 2 Vm. Load current, which is current flow, is I2. Then I2 is equal to P upon 2 Vm. Line losses are W 2 I2 square R2. We know that how we can put this value. Then the value of I2 we put from load current, and the R2 rho L upon A2. A2 is the area of this conductor, and the value of A2 we calculated. Now from this, the volume of conductor material required is 2A2L. 2, we have a conductor A2L. So we put the value, and when we compare this to the basic equation, it is equal to 0.25 K. So hence we can say that the volume of conductor material required is 1/4 of that required in DC 2 wire system. Now for the DC 3 wire system, in a DC 3 wire system, we draw the diagram. The current flow is I3, the voltage between them is 2 Vm. So the maximum voltage between outer and the earth and the outer conductor is Vm. The load current I3 is, so if we talk about the half of the system, the power will be half. So I3 is equal to P by 2 Vm is equal to P upon 2 Vm. Line losses are 2 I3 square R3. We put the value of I3 here and the value of R3 rho L upon I3, and we calculate the value of A3 here. Now when we volume of conductor material required in the system is 2.5 A3L. We have a two conductor which is equal to the equal cross section, and just the third wire, which is the earth, it is just half of any one of them. So it is just half of this conductor. So we use it 2.5 A3L, and we calculate the value, and when we compare to that basic equation, we have 0.3125 K. So hence volume of conductor material required in the system is 0.3125 K of that required in DC 2 wire system. Now we have a single phase AC system. In single phase AC system, we draw the diagram. The current flow is I4 and the voltage is Vm. So So the peak value of the conductor between two conductors is Vm. The RMS value between conductor is Vm upon root 2, and the load current is I4, which is P upon Vm by root 2 cos phi. Here cos phi is the power factor of the load. Now line losses is again here 2I4 square R4. We put the values of that and we calculate the value of W, and finally calculate the value of A4. And finally the volume of conductor material required is 2A4L, and we put the values and get the volume of conductor material required, and then compare from the basic equation, which is DC two-wire system. So it is equal to 2 upon cos square phi K. Hence we can say that the volume of conductor material required in this AC system or we can say that a two-wire AC system is 2 upon cos square phi as that required in DC two-wire system. Now again for the AC single phase two-wire system with midpoint earth. So the midpoint of this system is earthed. We have the Vm voltage from this point to outer conductor, and from center point midpoint earth to outer conductor is Vm. So total conductor between is 2 Vm. So the RMS voltage between conductor is 2 Vm by root 2 is equal to root 2 Vm. Peak value of the voltage between conductor is equal to 2 Vm. Load current I5 is equal to P upon root 2 Vm cos phi. And the line losses we are calculating here like similarly 2 I5 square R5. We put the value of R5 and I5 and calculate the value of A5. Now again we have to calculate the volume of conductor material required to A5L. Now put the value of A5, then we get the values and again compare from the basic equation. So we got that 0.5 K by cos square phi. So we can say that the volume of conductor material required in this single phase AC two-wire system with midpoint earth is 0.5 by cos square phi, which is equal times of that required in DC two-wire system. Now single phase three-wire system, the maximum voltage between two conductors is 2 Vm. RMS value outer and the earth is Vm by root 2. Load current I6 we calculate because we have the power is half, so we put it P by 2, and the Vm by root 2 cos phi, the cos phi is the power factor, and we calculate the load current I6. W we know that I6 square R6, and we calculate the value, we put the value of I6 and R6 here and calculate the value of W, and from this we calculate the value of A6. Now we know that the cross section of the third conductor or the earth conductor is just half of the outer conductor. So the volume of conductor material required 2.5 A6L, and we calculate the volume of conductor material required. And now again we compare from the basic equation. So we get 0.625 K by cos square phi. So we can say that in this system the volume of conductor material required is 0.625 K by cos square phi times of that required in DC two-wire system. Now three-phase system. In a three-phase system we have the RMS per phase is Vm by root 2. From this midpoint earth, each and every phase voltage is Vm. So the RMS voltage is Vm by root 2. The load current is I9. We assume that it is I9. So we calculate that in a 1 it is P by 3. So we calculate I9 is equal to root 2 P by 3 Vm cos phi. And the W we know that we have a 3 phases. So W is equal to 3 I9 square by R9, and from I9 and R9 we put this value and we calculate the value of W, and after that we calculate the value of A9. like in previous equation or previous derivation, how we calculate the value of A9. So now the volume of conductor material required in this system is equal to 3A9L. Why? Because we have a 3 phases. We put this value, and now from this we compare this equation to our basic equation. So it is 0.5 K by cos square phi. So we can say that the volume of conductor material required in the system is 0.5 by cos square phi times of that required in DC 2-wire system. Now the last is AC 3-phase AC 4-wire system. So we have one neutral wire is there and outer terminal is there. So if we assume that it is a balanced load, so the W is equal to 2P square rho L, it is equal to the 3-phase 3-wire system, and so from this we can calculate the A10. A10 is the area of the conductor. So and the volume of conductor material required in the system is 3.5. Why? Because the volume of conductor material required of the neutral is just half of the outer conductors. So we calculate this, which is the volume of conductor material required in this 3-phase 4-wire system. Now when we compare this equation to our basic equation, it is equal to the 0.583 K by cos square phi. So we can say that the volume of conductor material required in the system is 0.583 K by cos square phi times of that required in DC 2-wire system. That's all for today. Next topic we are discussing in next class.